The sign-up login process typically involves a scenario where a user may have forgotten their password, right? They enter their email address, click Forgot Password, and we send them a reset password link to their email address. Now, how do we send that email? There are 3 ways. SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. It's a technology for sending outgoing emails across networks, and it's the most common transport method. It serves as a relay service to send email from one server to another. When you send an email to a friend using an email client like Gmail, an outgoing SMTP server picks it up and connects it with your friend's receiving server. The 2 servers communicate using guidelines defined by the SMTP protocol, determining who the recipient is and how they can receive the incoming mail. To me, this sounds like a fancier version of a switchboard. The second method is using a transactional email API. Transactional email API allows you to send an email from your app using a hosted API. Instead of managing email servers and their requirements yourself, you can use an email API to handle message assembly, sending, and delivery. Transactional email APIs come in handy when you need a reliable service that can integrate quickly, can support high-volume sending, and offers rich functionality. There are many transactional email services on the market, like SendGrid, MailChimp, Mailgun, Postmark, etc. And lastly, the multi-channel notification service. Multi-channel notification services allow you to reach users across a number of different channels using one uniform API. It means that you can easily send notifications from channels other than email, such as SMS, push notification, and chat apps like Slack and WhatsApp, all using the same API. For forgotten passwords, it doesn't have to be very complicated, so I'm happy with SMTP. NodeMailer is SMTP, and I've not used it before, so I thought I'd give it a try. I wasted about 4 hours trying to get it to work with Gmail. I feel like I literally tried everything possible, and then gave up. Once I got a new email address with Outlook, it was actually very easy. Let's run through it. Once we've set up the forgotten password route, where we've got the email address from the front end, we search through our MongoDB database to find that email. Don't worry, a MongoDB explainer video is coming soon. If the email exists, we then send an email to that email. If no such email, we send a 400 status and an error message. First, we need to set up an email template. I'm calling it email content, but you can call it whatever you want. As required by any email, we need to have a from, that'll be our admin email address, a recipient, a subject line, and then the actual email message. We can write in HTML for the message, and truth be told, I didn't think writing out the full HTML email message was worth my time, so I copied it from somewhere. I can't remember where anymore, and by the time this video is up, I would have replaced this NodeMailer system, but I'll dig it up and post this template somewhere in the description. Alternatively, you can also just write some simple HTML lines of code, like a H1 or H2 tag with some P tags. If you want it to look pretty, then yes, you have to apply some CSS. We will be getting all the information we need through the forgot password route, so we need to remember to add that in at the top here. And then we just need to use NodeMailer's send mail method. drop in our email template and do some error handling. Notice it's SMTP transport.sendmail. We'll need to define SMTP transport. After a lot of messing around with Gmail errors, I renamed SMTP transport as transporter in the process. Regardless of whatever variable name you use, what is this SMTP transport or transporter? Well, SMTP is the most common transporter, right? As mentioned before. And to use it, you just need to set up a connection. So that's a host, a port, authentication details, and a method at a minimum. There are also some transport layer security TLS options. For example, whether the connection is secure. In most cases, set this value to true if you're connecting to port 465. For port 587 or 25, keep it as false, which is also the default for NodeMailer. For a more in-depth explanation of SMTP, TLS, and port numbers, you can check out some links in the description below. Now, TLS ciphers refers to a cipher suite, which is a set of algorithms that help secure a network connection. Honestly, I don't actually think we need this here. I think by this point, my brain was so fried, I just typed some stuff on autopilot. In the end, this is what it looks like. For the email, you'd want to put down the actual email address you're using in your .n file, obviously. And as for the password, in Outlook, and I think this is common practice now, you need to activate the two-step verification process first. Once that's done, Outlook gives you an app password. That is the password you should be using, not your actual email password. If you use your actual email password, this won't work. And then in our forgot password route, you can see how we're passing information down to our email utils. So if there is data, we get the name, the email, the URL. For now, it's hard-coded to say localhost. Once we know that everything works, we can actually use a more dynamic way of setting this up by getting our origin property, which is part of the location interface. I'll link the MDN documentation explaining this. It's basically the origin of our URL. So for localhost, it would return localhost followed by whatever port number you're using. If it's a custom domain, it will throw back the custom domain. But you'll still have to enter the rest of the path, which should be something like /resetpassword/ the user ID, which we can grab from our MongoDB database. Again, more about MongoDB coming soon. But MongoDB automatically assigns an ID for each document in the collection, and that's what we're grabbing here. On our front end, we can also set up a system whereby if an email has been successfully sent, we tell the user to check their email. If there was an error, we can display an error message. And what happens when the user clicks on the reset password link? At the moment, nothing. That page doesn't exist yet, so let's bring it into life. We need to set up a route on our front end. we can just call it /reset password /:ID. This is much easier than auth /reset password /:ID. So I'll update our backend link in a minute. The :ID tells React that this is going to be a dynamic path. We pass in reset password as the element. And in our reset password component, because we're using a dynamic path, we need to import useParams from React and do const id equals useParams. UseParams is just another clever little React hook that grabs the parameters of the current URL. And before we forget, let's quickly delete the reference to auth from our link in the backend. Okay, let's try it. Email sent. Fantastic. I'll drag my Gmail over so you can see it as well. The color is a bit weird because, as you can see from below, I've sent this 11 times now. So the text color of Gmail goes a bit weird once you've sent through the same thing more than once. But yeah, if we click on the link, it takes us to our reset password page. If I come back to my Chrome browser and paste in the URL, you can just about see at the top here the user ID. Great. Now it's all about setting up what the front page is going to look like when you're resetting the password. And once that's done, we just need to update the password for that user in MongoDB. And that is it. If you're watching the one on MongoDB, I'll see you there. See you next time.